In a world surrounded by stone and fear, humanity's only dream was survival. But among them was one boy who dreamed of more, Eren Yeager. A boy who wanted to break the sky, who believed that beyond those walls lay freedom. But what he found was a world far crueler than Titans. And so began the story of a hero who became a god, and a god who became a slave to a future he could never escape. The spark of freedom, a bird born in a cage. Eren was born in a cage, but he was a bird who always felt the cage was wrong. Every sunrise was a reminder that someone else decided how far he could go. But this wasn't just oppression, it was a 2,000-year-old lie, a memory-wiped society living in a pen built by their own last king, Karl Fritz, out of a twisted sense of penitence for the sins of the Eldian Empire. When the colossal titan shattered Wall Maria, it didn't just destroy his home, it shattered the very foundation of his reality. That day, his dream was born from rage. I'll kill them all. Every last one. It was a child's cry, but it echoed through the paths, a dimension outside of time where the fates of all Eldians are woven together. From that moment, Eren stopped being just a boy, he became an idea. But was it his idea? The unique power of the attack titan is to send memories backwards to its previous inheritors, creating a causal loop. This means every holder of the attack titan was subtly influenced by a will from the future. Was Eren's rage truly his own, or was he, even then, being guided by the monstrous, future version of himself? He was an embodiment of the will to be free, but from the very beginning, he may have been a prisoner of a fixed timeline. Humanity's strongest, Levi Ackerman, the product of bloodline. But freedom alone was never enough. Because in the shadows, another man carried the burden of humanity, Levi Ackerman. His story in the Over No Regrets shows us who he was before the legend. Born underground, surrounded by filth and despair, Levi clawed his way out. But his unparalleled strength isn't just a product of will, it's biological engineering. The Ackerman clan are the accidental byproducts of Eldian Titan science. They were an attempt to create a perfect Titan hybrid, super soldiers who could access the power of the Titans without transforming, possessing the strength, speed, and combat experience of their ancestors in a moment known as the Awakening. This is the source of Levi's power and Mikasa's. They are living weapons, designed to protect a host, a king. This adds a tragic layer to Levi's journey. His incredible power, the thing that defines him, is a remnant of the very system he fights against. When Erwin Smith offered him purpose, he found a reason to fight beyond his programming. Levi's blades didn't just cut titans, they carved his own meaning into a hopeless world. The only thing we're allowed to do is to believe that we won't regret the choice we made. Levi was proof that even with a destiny written in your blood, you can still choose who you protect. Mikasa Ackerman, the silent flame and the headache. Mikasa Ackerman's story, explored in Lost Girls, is not one of war, but of grief and genetic imperative. They took her family, but in that darkness, the Ackerman bloodline awakened when Eren urged her to fight. She became his guardian angel, but her devotion is a complex tapestry of genuine love, trauma bonding, and the Ackerman's ingrained instinct to protect the host. This brings us to the most haunting theory about her character, Mikasa's headaches. Eren claimed they were a side effect of the Ackerman's resistance to the founding Titan's memory wipe. But what if they are more? What if every time she feels a pang of love or loyalty for Eren, her mind rebels because she is feeling something that isn't entirely her own? Or, more tragically, what if they are moments where her subconscious is fighting against the fixed timeline? Perhaps she gets a headache when she is about to deviate from the path future Eren has already seen and ordained. Her love was not weakness, it was the purest form of strength, made even more profound by the possibility that she was fighting against her own nature and a predetermined fate to feel it. I'll always be by your side. Even when that meant being the one to sever the very bond that defined her existence. The road to the rumbling, the prisoner of a seen future. Eren's dream twisted the moment he set foot in Mali. He saw that beyond the walls, humanity was not a noble ideal to be reached, but a mirror of the hatred and fear he knew on Paradise. But the true turning point wasn't the hatred, it was the knowledge. When he kissed Historia's hand, he saw everything. The past, the future, the inevitable annihilation. He wasn't acting out of impulse anymore. He was acting out of fatalism. This is the core of Eren's damnation. He became a slave to the future memories he himself would eventually send back. He saw that the rumbling was an immutable event. His famous line, "It seems like the future I saw, won't change. It's all going to happen," reveals a terrifying truth. The boy who sought absolute freedom had none. He was the most powerful being on the planet, yet he was trapped on a railroad track laid by his own future self. The rumbling wasn't just a choice. It was a script he was forced to follow, making him both the author of the atrocity and its first victim. The philosophical fall, the geometry of God. As Eren's power crystallized in the path's dimension, his morality faded into the calculus of survival. He began to believe that true freedom could only exist when no one was left to oppose it. And so, he unleashed the rumbling, not just an army, but a geological and ecological apocalypse. Let's talk scale. There are roughly 600,000 colossal titans in the walls. The heat they radiate would boil oceans and scorch the atmosphere long before their feet crushed the land. This wasn't just genocide, it was the unmaking of a world. Eren, connected to the source of all living matter, that strange, hallucigenia-like creature that is the primordial origin of Titan power, had become a force of nature. But was this creature a divine punishment, a natural parasite, or an ancient bioweapon? The series leaves it ambiguous, suggesting that the power to destroy the world can come from the most alien and unknowable of places. To you, 2,000 years from now. This message, the very first line of the series, was sent by Eren himself through the paths, a message to himself, to his friends, to us. It was all part of the loop. Freedom built on the destruction of choice is the ultimate cage. Eren wasn't free, he was the chief prisoner in the oubliette of time. The mirror of humanity, Ilse's notebook and the nature of the Titan curse. Before Eren's fall, there were signs, small, heartbreaking glimpses of the truth. In Ilse's notebook, we see a soldier met a Titan that could speak. It called her, Ymir's people, and begged for forgiveness. That moment revealed the horrifying truth. Titans weren't mindless monsters. They were once human, their consciousness trapped in a nightmare. This connects directly to the origin of it all. Ymir Fritz. A slave girl who gained godlike power but remained a psychological slave for 2,000 years. She didn't serve the royal family because of a vow. She served because she, in her broken state, craved the connection and approval of a family, even an abusive one. The entire Titan curse was built on the trauma of a single, abused child. Eren didn't free Ymir by commanding her. He freed her by showing her another broken soul who refused to be a slave. He showed her that she could make a choice. The real monsters were never the Titans, but the cycles of trauma, lies, and hatred that Ymir's power enabled. The end of Eren Yeager, the boy under the tree. Eren's final moments weren't filled with rage. They were filled with a tragic, weary peace. In the paths, he confessed to Ackerman his true, childish nature. He didn't know why he did it, only that he had to, that he was disappointed that humanity existed beyond the walls. He was a slave to the innate, chaotic desire for freedom that was his core, a desire so pure it became genocidal. Mikasa's blade ended his journey, not out of hate, but mercy, and love. It was her choice, the one variable the attacked Titan could never fully see, that finally broke Ymir's attachment and ended the curse. The boy who wanted to see the world finally saw it, through her eyes, the only perspective that ever truly mattered. His death wasn't justice. It was the closing of a loop 2,000 years in the making. And under that tree where his dream began, Eren Yeager finally found what he was chasing all along, not freedom, but an end to the struggle. Peace. Humanity's reflection. The cycle continues. When the smoke cleared, humanity didn't find salvation. The world rebuilt itself on the same foundations: fear, power, and control. The final, chilling scene shows a new child, generations later, finding the tree that houses the source of all living matter, hinting that the cycle of power and destruction is poised to begin anew. Because the truth is, Eren wasn't a villain or a hero. He was a mirror. He showed us that the line between justice and evil is drawn by whoever wins, and that even the most noble ideals can curdle into absolute horror when filtered through the lens of determinism and trauma. Levi, who kept fighting even when the world lost meaning, represents our resilience. Mikasa, who carried love beyond death, represents our capacity for compassion. Ackerman, who inherited the weight of the future, represents our fragile hope. They were humanity, in all its beauty and brutality. Attack on Titan ends not with answers, but with questions that claw at the soul. What is freedom when your choices are pre-written? Can peace ever exist without the sacrifice of innocence? And if humanity always repeats its mistakes, was Eren's choice truly wrong, or was he just the most efficient expression of a flaw inherent to all of us? Perhaps the greatest tragedy of all is not that he died, but that his horrific action was the only path he could see that gave his friends a long life, proving that the only thing more terrifying than monsters is the terrible, loving, destructive, and beautiful nature of mankind itself. This was the story of Eren Yeager, a boy who dreamed of freedom, became a god of destruction, and died as a slave to the child he always was. Freedom, it was never something to be taken. It was something to be understood, and perhaps, forever out of reach. Even if we disappear, our hearts will keep beating in those who come after. And maybe, somewhere beneath that old tree, the wind still whispers his name, a warning and a lament, forever caught in the branches of the past. Attack on Titan, The Fall of a Dreamer, The Rise of a Paradox. And if you enjoyed the video, then don't forget to like and subscribe for more content like this.